Alrighty folks, strap yourselves in for an absolute salvo of Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 information coming at you thanks to Activision and Infinity Ward giving me an inside look at what they've been working on for this year's game. Just quickly, I want to say I'm under no obligation to say anything about what I saw, and these will all be my personal opinions. Also, I'll have chapters on the video so you can jump to whatever section of info you'd like to hear, but let's start with the overall important details. Modern Warfare 2 is a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019 set 3 years later. For the first time in COD history, the dev team is using one unified engine for everything, starting with MW2 and Warzone 2, which will release later this year. That's an absolute bombshell. I did not expect Warzone 2 this year. More on that later, of course. Regarding the engine, they have built upon the MW 2019 engine. However, the devs were keen to stress that this doesn't mean they've just added things to it, but instead, this engine has had everything built from the ground up again, including animation, audio, graphics, gun handling, you name it. It's all an improvement on MW 2019, and you'll see that in the reveal gameplay. Infinity Ward have raised the bar that they themselves set 3 years ago, trust me. Ricochet Anti-Cheat will be live on day 1 of MW2 and Warzone 2 with updated tools to fight cheaters, which is great to hear, of course. And Modern Warfare 2 will be on Steam, which has people speculating about mod support potentially. That's still a long shot, mind you, but it is possible. And Warzone will be coming to mobile, but I think we all knew that already. Right, now it's time to get into the biggest changes in MW2, starting with multiplayer, because I know that's what most of you are here for, but we're going to start with the details that impact every kind of multiplayer from 6v6 to Warzone 2. These are the biggest innovations for MP this year, starting with water. Water is going to be a huge player in every mode of MW2. You can swim on the surface, you can dive underwater, shoot underwater, and the bullet ballistics will work as they would and should in real life. They'll slow down drastically and thus do less damage. Water is going to play a huge role in this game. You'll be able to use pistols and melee underwater, but when you're on the surface you can float about and use your primary weapon, then dive back down to escape the enemies. And the water on the map is all surfer side, so waves and foam will act the same for everyone. And honestly, the level of detail the devs have put into this is insane. They said there'll be different kinds of water, so you know, calm water, rapids with currents underneath, murky water with poor vision, and of course there'll be water vehicles, including amphibious ones. I'm imagining one of those like hovercraft things to get around the map. That'd be really cool, but honestly, when you see the water in this game, it'll really impress you. Gunsmith returns, of course, and it looks like we're gonna get quite a bit more depth to it. Now, I'm gonna caveat this by saying the devs said that they wanted to keep innovation simple and not let things become convoluted, which I like the sound of, but Gunsmith definitely sounds like it's gonna take some experimenting. I'll tell you straight away though, I'm not sure how many attachments we can have on the gun at once right now. We weren't privy to that information, but I'm hoping it's less than 10 anyway. On the simple side of things, when we unlock a gun, we'll be able to progress through the family tree for that gun, so to speak. Remember how in MW 2019 you could take the AK-47, change its barrel, magazine, stock, and transform it into an unofficial AK-74U? Well, now we have that built into the weapon rank system, and it kind of reminded me of something like a skill tree you'd find in an RPG type of game. They said there will be attachments that unlock for various guns at once, so once you've unlocked that attachment you can use it on another similar AR, but also that each gun will have its own unique attachments that only that gun can equip. I thought it was really good to see them embrace that element of Gunsmith. I really enjoyed that in 2019. And as far as attachments go, it looks like there will be a new slot for the MW Gunsmith, which was ammunition, as in caliber of ammo. You can now change that. I know you could in the previous game, but now it's got its own specific slot alongside the magazine. So I'm glad to see they've kind of toned that down a bit from Vanguard, but now we've got something that I'm struggling to wrap my head around at the moment. Right, listen to this. We will now be able to tune our attachments, and truth be told, I didn't see this in extreme detail, but from what I could tell, it looked like there was some kind of slider next to the attachments where you can slide up something in exchange for, you know, a downside, if that makes sense. So for example, you could slide up the ADS speed and sacrifice for recoil control. So what I'm wondering is how drastic this slider is, and the tuning is going to be, because they did say every attachment will be able to be tuned. So not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried about what that means, because it seems like a hell of a lot to balance and also understand for the casual player. So we'll need to just wait and see until we get more insight on this before we can judge it for sure, because there's lots of ways this could go, and I'm hoping when we finally see it in action it's more simple than it initially sounds, because I don't know, I just thought Vanguard was just a little bit too complex. So I don't know. I guess on the flip side though, for people like me, we could potentially make some absolute mad weapons and play around with that. So overall, I really hope we get a firing range to test these out. That is important to me too. There's been a lot of progress with movement mechanics. Firstly, the classic dolphin dive is back. I loved that way back in Black Ops 1. Diving through a window to get away from the blast of a grenade was so cool and effective too. What I'm not sure right now is if this replaces the slide, or indeed the slide cancel. That'll have to wait for another time. Another really cool thing we can now do is hang onto ledges and move across them, or even pull ourselves up a bit to peek over the edge without having to do a full mantle, without knowing if there's 3 enemies waiting on the other side to blast you. We can also lean over the edge slightly to use a pistol, kind of similar how you can do that on a ladder in MW 2019 with a pistol. So that's something I'm interested in. The devs said we're also going to be able to use these movements to explore the maps and to get into harder to reach areas, which is music to my ears as a self-confessed camper sometimes. But the coolest thing I heard about all this movement, right, is that we'll now be able to grab and hang on to the side of helicopters and use a pistol to shoot the pilots out of it. Imagine doing that in Warzone 2. I can't wait to see that in action. That leads me on nicely to vehicles though. Vehicles have seen a massive overhaul too, seriously, on another level. We can now lean out of the windows to shoot in a vehicle. We can climb onto the roof just cause style, but the vehicles can now also take detailed damage, like blowing the doors off, leaving the driver exposed. Tyres can now be shot and burst, but they can also be repaired. Vehicles can now be repaired at petrol stations, which is going to add so much depth to the vehicle gameplay. And lastly, when vehicles are blown up and destroyed, the shell of the vehicles will stay. It's not like they just disappear into thin air, which will definitely add more variety to each individual game. Imagine using the smouldering remains of your Bertha as cover as an enemy team closes in around you. That sounds mad. And speaking of mad in a good way, here's some mad new equipment or field upgrades we'll be getting. Firstly, my favourite, right, is an inflatable decoy. So, like, imagine this soldier, but it's an armoured balloon that you can set up to confuse enemies and get them to reveal their position by shooting it. That is amazing. You can throw it in a standing position, or even throw it under a desk in a prone position, or even set it up as a trap like a bouncing Betty, so that it only pops up and inflates when an enemy walks near it and give them the fright of their lives before you ambush them. I cannot wait to use that. We're also getting a tactical camera, which I imagine will work a little like the old camera from Black Ops 1. There's what they're calling the the DDoS EMP device that will scan the area and take out enemy equipment. And finally, the drill charge. Check this out, right? You throw this device onto a wall or floor, it will drill a hole in the surface and then punch a grenade through into the other room. That's one way to deal with campers, am I right? I mean, the campers will hear the drill going off and it will take time to use, but it'll either blow the campers up or get them to scramble. So either way, very cool. The last of the big innovations, which is slightly over my head, is AI. There was a big section about AI, not only in campaign, but all facets of multiplayer. They want AI to be as authentic as possible. The AI... the AI will act like it actually has a life, like it has a family outside of this war or battle that they're in. It won't just blindly walk around corners. It'll check every corner and it's reactive to its environment. I did get to see it. It really did check every single corner, more so than I do when I'm trying to breach a room in Warzone. Now, I believe the AI will have quite a big role to play in Warzone 2. The devs stated that they currently had 300 AI for 100 live players, which is a hell of a lot and will of course change with time. But if that's the kind of scale that they're planning with AI, then that just makes me think that the next Warzone map is going to have to be significantly larger than what we've had previously. Now let's talk multiplayer. Traditional Call of Duty multiplayer details here. Everything in the previous section impacts, you know, everything to do with the game, but this is more specific. We will be getting maps that are built for purpose. What does that mean? Well, the devs understood that some Modern Warfare 2019 maps were too broad in their scope and they didn't really work well, so now they'll be making large scale combat maps specifically built for ground war, but for 6v6 they won't be then breaking down those large maps into smaller ones. Now 6v6 will be getting its own core maps, which is fantastic news. The best maps from MW 2019 were the likes of Shoot House, so it sounds like they've learned a lesson, and for that I say to them, fair play. That was just really good to hear. There's a couple of new game modes they briefly mentioned. Knockout, which is gunfight meets multiplayer according to them. I really enjoyed gunfight, so I hope that this is the next level of that, and I hope they bring back like the gunfight, or even if knockout's the new version of gunfight, I hope they bring out tournaments for that and rewards. I thought that was a really cool feature that they never quite expanded on. Like there's quite a few cool blueprints unlocked from winning gunfight tournaments, so something like that would be good to see come back. And another mode that they mentioned was Prisoner Rescue, which they said was a slower paced breach and siege kind of mode. It's probably for the more slower tactical players. Don't know if it'll be my thing, but you know, if you're into that, then this might be the mode for you. And on the subject of players themselves, they say MP is built around 3 player behaviours that they identified, and there'll be things for each of these players to make the most of in the game. The rusher, which is self-explanatory. This is the sweat that wants to rush and move around the map and get high kills. So basically there'll be things, there'll be equipment, perks, loadouts, whatever, so on, for each of these 3 players. The next one is the Sentinel, which I think is the camper, right? Like it or not, they're gonna be doing a little catering to the campers in the game, or indeed those players that just want to take things a bit slower. And lastly, this is the one I'm most excited for. They were calling this the Stalker, which I think is the objective player. They're trying to cater more towards the objective player, because in Modern Warfare 2019 it was really lacking features and incentives for the objective player, so improving that would be brilliant, because otherwise objective game modes just become glorified team deathmatch in my opinion. And finally for this video, let's talk some campaign details, because I know there was actually, I say this as someone who really enjoyed the Modern Warfare 2019 campaign myself. I'm actually really looking forward to this sequel, because the last one left on a cliffhanger, so I know there will be quite a few of you who are interested in the campaign this year. So the campaign, as a direct sequel, is set 3 years later. Task Force 141 has officially been established. It actually wasn't in Modern Warfare 2019, so remember that cliffhanger where Captain Price was meeting Laswell, who's now also in Task Force 141. He was establishing, getting the gang back together. So we now have Price, Gaz, Ghost, Soap, Kate Laswell, who's from the CIA initially, but she's now going to be like kind of playing Overwatch for Task Force 141. We have Alejandro Vargas, which is their I believe is their Mexican military contact, and he's going to be providing them with lots of good intel. And we have Philip Graves, who I believe is the commander or leader of the private military contractor, and the PMC can operate in different ways. They can, you know, they've said they have different rules of engagement compared to traditional military. I also learned that Soap is actually the youngest of the squad. He's the baby, he's the rookie of the squad, and he's going to have quite the character arc as he develops into the fighting machine we all know him as. But he's gonna have to learn the ropes, so to speak. Like I said earlier, Vargas is Mexican Special Forces. Graves is the operator of Shadow Company, to be more specific. That's the name I was trying to think of earlier. Shadow Company is back. He's going to be leading them, and I think was it the tagline, or I don't know what the official name of this kind of thing is, but basically for the campaign, what they're asking you is, do you need to become the thing you're trying to destroy in order to defeat it? So remember in Modern Warfare 2019, it was all about Captain Price saying that you draw the line wherever you need it. So in this campaign, it might be about doing some naughty things maybe to fight the enemy. And the enemy is Al-Qatala. They are a more advanced army now, 3 years later. So we're going to be fighting them again in fictional countries, I believe. In terms of missions, that I got to see. We got to see a night vision mission which you are playing as Soap, and it had all the night vision elements that we've seen in Modern Warfare 2019. I'm sure you'll get to see that anyway, so I'll let you dissect that yourselves. The campaign is going to take us all around the world though, just like you know, Call of Duty is always globetrotting, but we also seen a mission in Amsterdam which showed off the water in this game in extreme detail. That's how I know that this is going to be a massive, impressive feature for Modern Warfare 2. But I think that finally wraps up all the information I have for you, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new here and are interested in all things Modern Warfare 2. We're going to have plenty of videos this year, not just on Modern Warfare 2 but also Warzone 2, which again I can't believe is coming out this year apparently. Definitely keep an eye out for more details regarding that, and let me know in the comments the things you're most excited for this year's Call of Duty, and let me know, you know, things you're excited for, things you're maybe concerned about, things you want more details on that I could maybe answer questions on in the comment section below. I'll be happy to do that. But yeah, there's not much else to say other than have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.